We start with this one now. We'll revise first few sentences we did last time and then proceed further. The inner planes uncovered their crystal doors. Strange powers and influences touched his life. Strange powers and influences touched his life. So all the supernatural things are now happening in the case of Arshapati. Now he says strange. Strange because we are not used to them. We are not accustomed to them. We are not familiar with them. We are not familiar with them. Powers and influences also touched his life. Means his life is seeing something which was never happening in his case at all. And all that is happening when? In the inner planes. When the inner planes open the doors outside, then all these powers and influences are rushing into him, and his life is experiencing something different altogether. A vision came. Now, all these strange powers and influences, he is giving a few examples. A vision came of higher realms than ours. That is a strange thing by itself, you see. A vision came of higher realms than ours, a consciousness of brighter fields and skies. So you really become aware of something which is totally beyond your normal conception of things. Consciousness of brighter fields and sky, not only on the ground and the terrestrial world, but also in the celestial domains. You see, brighter fields and sky of beings less circumscribed than brief-lived men. So this is a contrast. These beings are not circumscribed the way in which we are circumscribed. We are circumscribed by our mental capacities, by our physical capacities, by our life forces and all that. They are very limited in the scope of activity. So those things are not really governing these beings. So the first thing is vision came, then came consciousness, then came beings. And subtler bodies than these passing frames, Sukshma Deha, not only our own but of others. Objects too fine for our material grasp. Well, obviously, means you cannot really touch them, you cannot feel them, you cannot smell them, you can't see they are too fine. Our physical instruments are too crude, too obtuse to really get something of them. And subtler bodies than these passing frames, objects too fine for our material grasp, acts vibrant with the superhuman light, acts vibrant with the superhuman light. See, suddenly the line has changed, the poetry is so totally different in this case. Acts vibrant with the superhuman light. You can see the power of poetry totally different here than objects too fine for material girl. That line appears like kind of a narrative. But suddenly the poetry picks up here, acts vibrant with the superhuman light, you see. You see, you can scan this line, acts vibrant, that is sponty. Then, and with is a peric, a superhuman, a super, sponty, human, Greek, and light I am. That is Canchan's line, you see. And movement pushed by superconscious force, and joy that never flow through mortal limb, and lovelier scene than earth's and happier lives. Now, this may not be a very, very high state of experience, but it is certainly beyond the physical earth's experiences, you see. See, there are heavens of life paradise, of mind paradise, all kinds of things are there like that, you see. So this may not be very high, but here he say, and movements pushed by a superconscious force. Now, movements pushed by a superconscious force still does not mean that it is in the transcendent. In these subtle worlds, in these worlds which he is describing here, there is a superconscious force which acts and makes them move and go around, you see. and joys that never flowed through mortal limbs, and lovelier scenes than ours, and happier lives. Well, obviously, this is one of the intermediate experiences of Ashwapati. He is going beyond the mental domain. He has entered in the spiritual thing. His pure perception has awakened, and he is now moving in the non-physical world there, you see. But beyond the non-physical world, there are worlds and worlds. So this is one of the earlier experiences he is having here, you see. And loveliest, huh?
Is this the subtle world?
Not well. It's not subtle in what sense? You see, it can be. There are all kinds of worlds. There are all non-physical worlds.
Yeah, but the subtle is the closest to the
Subtle physical is a specific word. Subtle physical world is a specific word. So, but then there are the worlds of God, there are the worlds of celestial beings, there are the worlds of musicians, there are many worlds like that. No, no. And joy that never flowed through mortal limb, and lovelier scenes than earth and happier lives. Earth and happier lives of course. Well, you may have all royalty, all luxuries of life and all that. You may be in America or wherever it be, but then that is nothing compared with what he is describing here, you see. And lovelier scenes than earth and happier lives, a consciousness of beauty and of bliss, a knowledge which became what it pursued, consciousness of beauty and of bliss. See, consciousness, it can be a consciousness of beauty alone, it can be a consciousness of bliss also, but here both of them are simultaneously present, beauty and bliss. A consciousness of beauty and of bliss, of both simultaneously present there, you see. See, it is not a consciousness of beauty and bliss. See, the poet is very particular about all this. It is not a consciousness of beauty and bliss. It is a consciousness, means beauty by itself, bliss by itself. Both of them are now in that consciousness simultaneously. A consciousness of, see, the poetic art is very fine here. And I mean, the line can, you see, if you don't have this off, it does make sense. It does make sense, but that is a different sense than with this off removed, with this off put there. Now this off here in this particular line is not for the sake of completion of a pentametric meter, a consciousness of beauty and of bliss. You see, first meter, first foot is a consciousness, second foot, third foot of beauty, fourth foot of T and Birik, and the last foot is of bliss. So this off is not just for the sake of metrical necessity. You follow the distinction between what I say? No, no. See, if you don't have off, then the line is metrically limping.
So then it is because of the metrical view.
Yeah.
It is. If you remove the
See,
off, then the
you see, he could have made a consciousness of rare beauty and bliss.
no, then the
And the
metric
metric will
will
be kept. And it will be kept pentametric.
No, this off is not just only for the sake of pentametric necessity. Here it is necessary for the pentametric, but what I am saying, instead of off, I can modify the line, a rare consciousness of beauty and bliss. So it becomes pentametric. A rare consciousness, or a glad consciousness, or a happy. I can always add some other adjective there and make it pentametric. It is not for that purpose you have put off there. See, off has its own many specific meaning. In other words, he is giving equal emphasis on both beauty and bliss. And bliss. See, for the purpose of metrical completion, I mean, you can put some other word, some adjective, and somehow manage it, you see. and knowledge which became what it pursued. Now that is kind of an objective realization also. You identify with the object. You see the sun, but you become the sun. Yeah. Samyama. And knowledge which became what it happened, replaced the separated sense and heart and drew all nature into his embrace. Obviously. Well, that is the kind of a consciousness now he has got, you see. Now he is describing, first he has described consciousness, then he comes to mind. The mind leaned out to meet the hidden worlds. See, I mean, our mind is not capable of that thing at all. I mean, our mind tries to understand, know, explore at the most through rational factory, by ratiocination, by argument, by reason alone, you see. But why mind by itself can see certain things and know by itself, you see. The powers of mind are there, but they are all asleep in us, you see, completely. The mind leaned out to meet the hidden world. Here, glowed and teemed with marvelous shapes and hues. See, this is what is lovelier scenes and forms, no? Lovelier scenes, and he is describing some examples of that. The mind leaned out to meet the hidden world. Air glowed and teemed with marvelous shapes and hues. In the nostrils quivered celestial fragrances. On the tongue lingered the honey of paradise. Now he is giving the five senses which you have got to see. Mind is one of the most important sense. Actually, that's the fundamental sense, manasa. But then you have got shapes and hues, means sight. Then you have got nostrils, fragrance. Tongue, a channel of universal harmony. Hearing was a stream of magic audience. Ear. So he is describing the five senses which are awakened to a new sort of a faculty, you see. Hearing was a stream of magic audience, a bed for occult sounds earth cannot hear.
Can I ask a question? He describes the human, a little bit the human body, but in a sort of a transformed way. So the bodies in that world are actually much like the human body, but
Yeah, you see, basically, what you see, basically, all our senses are gross senses. But behind these gross senses, there are subtle faculties of seeing, hearing, and it is those faculties which are now coming into play and seeing things. In other words, they are in a way our own projections, but in a different manner. And the inner, he talks about inner doors opened out. No, the inner doors are opening out here. You see,
this is a human body.
yeah, but human subtle part of the body, inner part of the body, the inner, the inner part. See, I mean, what the Upanishad says, ear behind the ear, eye behind the eye, and ultimately all gathered by the sense behind the sense, manas. See, ear glowed and teemed with marvelous shapes and hues. In the nostrils quivered celestial fragrances. On the tongue lingered the honey of paradise. A channel of universal harmony. Hearing was a stream of magic audience, a bed for occult sound earth cannot hear. Out of a covered tract of slumber cell. So all these things was covered until now. They were asleep until now. See, now they have opened out. They are seeing things. They are awakening. You know, all the subtle senses are now coming into operation. The voice came of a truth submerged, unknown. See, the slumber self had kind of kept the voice suppressed until now that voice is coming out of the tree. A voice came of a truth submerged, unknown, that flows beneath the cosmic surface, only amid an omniscient silence. That voice, which can be heard only omniscient silence, is now coming out and being heard. You see. Held by intuitive heart and secret sense. That voice, that silence, which is held by heart and intuition of its own, and of course secret sense. Our own senses, the sense behind the sense, that is the secret sense. Manas is the primary sense in our case, but behind that there is a secret sense. And Actually, the sense behind manas is sadhyana. It is sadhyana which awakens and sees things directly. You see. Means it is the kind of a comprehending knowledge of things which you receive directly. Sadhyana. Vijnana is apprehending, sadhyana is comprehending. Hit held by intuitive heart and secretion. Now this is something, see, this is a very beautiful phrase, intuitive heart. Normally we don't associate any intuition of the heart. We associate intuition only with the with this faculty, you see. But the heart has its own intuition. In fact, not only heart, even the physical has its own intuition. We don't really recognize that thing. We kind of say, stupid fellow, stop, don't come up, you see. The body also has its own intuition and it tells, you see. It caught the burden of secrecies, sealed and dumb. It voiced the unfulfilled demand of earth. Voiced unfulfilled demand of earth. It is that it is speaking out, you see. And a song of promise of unrealized heaven in all that hides in the omnipotent sleep. See, in the omnipotent sleep, everything is there, asleep. Omnipotent, which is very powerful, extremely powerful. Sleep, that is the sushupti. That is the consciousness of sushupti, prajna. So you are now living in the world of prajna and all these faculties are opening out completely. Omnipotent sleep is prajna consciousness itself, you see. In other words, he is really going beyond the physical senses, even beyond the subtle senses, all the way up to prajna consciousness, you see.